Hello, friends. Welcome back. A man once climbed the ladder of success, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That is the trap of modern ambition. We chase goals, build resumes, check boxes, but inside we feel disorganized, unclear, exhausted. Stephen R. Covey saw this, and instead of telling us to hustle harder, he offered something deeper. A roadmap, a framework not for getting more done, but for becoming more effective, more centered, more alive. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has sold over 40 million copies worldwide. It's not a self-help book, it's a self-leadership manifesto. Because real success, the kind that feels aligned, starts from the inside out. So in this audiobook, we won't just list habits. We'll walk through each one with stories, meaning, and action you can take. If you're ready to trade noise for clarity, distraction for discipline, and urgency for purpose, then this is for you. And if you're new here, welcome to Universal Audiobooks, where we don't just read books, we bring them to life with cinematic storytelling and lessons that stay with you. If you love personal growth, mindset, and mission-driven living, please hit subscribe now and share with your friends. Because every week we drop another book that could change everything. Now, let's begin with Habit 1. Habit 1, be proactive. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, running late, deadlines piling up, someone cuts you off, and boom, you explode. Sound familiar? Stephen Covey says, that's the difference between a reactive life and a proactive one. Reactive people blame. They say, I had no choice. They live in reaction to weather, moods, and other people's behavior. But proactive people, they pause, they choose. They ask, what's in my control right now? Let me tell you a story. A man in a war camp lost everything, his home, his freedom, his family. But one thing he refused to surrender. His name was Viktor Frankl, and he realized even in hell, he could choose how to respond. That, Covey says, is the power of being proactive. It doesn't mean being aggressive. It means owning your choices, owning your attitude, owning your space in a world you can't always control. Proactive people focus on their circle of influence, not the chaos around them. They act based on values, not feelings. So next time you're tempted to blame, pause. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do right now? Then do it, deliberately, because habit 1 is the root of personal freedom. Until you believe that you are the creator of your life, you'll always feel like a victim of it. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. This one will flip how you set goals and how you define success. Awesome. Let's move into one of the most life-altering habits in Covey's entire framework. This habit isn't about action, it's about intention. Because if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you've arrived? Let's understand habit 2. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your own funeral. The room is quiet. People are gathered, friends, family, coworkers. One by one, they stand up to speak about you. What would you want them to say? He was kind. She inspired others. He made people feel safe. She chased her dreams with fire. Stephen Covey asks us to start here, because the most effective people don't just live by goals. They live by a vision. They know what matters most, and they build their days backwards from it. Let me tell you about Sarah. She was a high-performing executive. On paper, she had it all. But she constantly felt unfulfilled. Until one day her coach asked, what does success look like at the end of your life? Her answer had nothing to do with titles. It was about being present, being kind, raising confident children. From that day on, her life changed. Covey says, all things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. The blueprint always comes before the building. So what's your blueprint? What kind of parent, partner, leader, friend do you want to be? Write it down. Build your personal mission statement. Let it guide your yeses and your nos. Because if you don't define your success, someone else will define it for you. And you might just end up climbing the ladder, only to realize it was leaning on the wrong wall. Begin with the end in mind, and you'll start living on purpose, not by default. Next is habit 3. Put first things. First, this is the habit that turns your purpose into actual priorities. Let's keep going, because habit 3 is where your vision meets your calendar. This habit is about more than productivity. It's about courageous clarity, the discipline to choose what matters most, even when everything feels urgent. Imagine this. You've got a glass jar in front of you. Beside it, a pile of big rocks, a scoop of gravel, and some sand. Now, your job is to fit it all inside the jar. If you pour in the sand first, then the gravel, you won't have space for the big rocks. But if you start with the big rocks, then the gravel, then the sand, everything fits. Stephen Covey uses this story to illustrate habit 3. Put first things first. You already know your big rocks. If you've practiced habit 2 and defined your mission, now it's time to schedule them. Let me tell you about Raj. He was overwhelmed, juggling work, family, fitness, and endless distractions. He said yes to everything and had nothing left for what mattered until he started using Covey's time matrix. He stopped living in quadrant 1, urgency, stress, reactivity, and started focusing on quadrant 2, the non-urgent but deeply important things, like planning, relationship building, self-care, long-term projects. He began scheduling his values, not just his meetings, and for the first time, he felt aligned. Covey says, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So ask yourself, what are your big rocks this week? And are they blocked in your calendar or just in your wish list? Habit 3 gives you the power to say no, so you can say yes to the things that actually move your life forward. Don't let urgency hijack your legacy. Put first things first and build your life on purpose. Next is habit 4. Think win-win. This habit is the secret behind powerful relationships in business, love, and leadership. Amazing. Habit 4 is the habit that transforms how we work with people. It's the antidote to toxic competition and the secret to building relationships that last. Because real success doesn't require someone else to lose. There was a negotiation between two sisters. They were fighting over the last orange. Each insisted they needed the whole fruit. Finally, in frustration, one sister gave in. The other walked away, victorious. But here's what happened next. One sister peeled the orange and threw away the rind. She needed the fruit for a snack. The other? She kept the peel because she needed the zest for baking. Turns out, they both could have gotten what they needed. Win-win was always possible. They just didn't ask. Stephen Covey says most people live with a scarcity mindset. They think, there's only so much success to go around. If you win, I lose. But habit 4 introduces the abundance mindset. It says, I don't have to win at your expense. We can both win together. Let me tell you about Aisha, a young team lead at a tech startup. Her department was battling another team for resources. Tension was high. Blame was everywhere. But instead of fueling the fire, Aisha invited the other lead for coffee. She asked, what would a win look like for you? Then she shared her vision. Together they found common ground and came up with a joint solution that saved both teams time and money. That's the power of habit 4. Covey says, win-win is not a technique. It's a total philosophy of human interaction. So next time conflict arises, ask, what does winning look like for each of us? Can we expand the pie instead of fighting over crumbs? Because life isn't chess. You don't need to take a queen to move forward. Think win-win and everyone rises. If you're loving this so far, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me keep working hard to bring more content like this for you. Next is habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This one may be the most important communication skill you'll ever learn. Let's keep going, because habit 5 is the heart of all communication. It's not about being clever, persuasive, or having the best argument. It's about this. Can you truly listen? A teenager slammed her bedroom door. I don't want to talk about it. Her father stood outside, frustrated. He knocked again. I just want to help. What's going on? She shouted back, you never listen anyway. He paused, because she was right. He always responded, but he never truly heard. Stephen Covey says most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They're not listening, they're reloading. Habit 5 flips that entirely. It teaches us, diagnose before you prescribe. Let me tell you about Arjun, a senior manager at a multinational firm. His team was underperforming. He assumed they were lazy, distracted, or unmotivated. So he pushed harder. More deadlines, more meetings. But things only got worse, until one day he stopped. He invited each team member for a one-on-one and just listened. No defending, no interrupting. And what he heard surprised him. One team member was caring for an ill parent. Another was silently battling burnout. Another was unclear on expectations. Everything changed after that. With real understanding came real leadership. Covey reminds us, empathic listening is not about agreeing. It's about deeply understanding the other person emotionally and intellectually. So here's your challenge. Next time someone speaks, resist the urge to jump in. Don't fix, don't judge, just listen. Listen so they feel heard. Listen so they feel safe. And only then, offer your perspective. Because the fastest way to be understood is to first understand. Next is habit 6, synergize. The habit that unlocks creative collaboration and teamwork that's greater than the sum of its parts. Fantastic. Let's dive into habit 6, where the power of true collaboration comes alive. This isn't about compromise. It's about creating something better, together. Imagine a piano. Alone, each key plays a simple note. But together, they create music. That's synergy. Stephen Covey defines synergy as the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's not just working with others. It's unlocking something neither could do alone. Let me share a story. 2 schools were competing in a regional science fair. Both had smart students, solid projects, but one team stood out. Their project? A fully functioning solar irrigation system, designed by kids who had very little in common. One was the class nerd, one was the artist, one was the athlete, and one didn't speak much at all. But instead of forcing sameness, they celebrated difference. The nerd handled the calculations, the artist designed the interface, the athlete handled the pitching. The quiet kid, he had the idea in the first place. They didn't just cooperate, they synergized. And they won, not because they were the smartest, but because they were the most united. Covey explains, synergy is celebrating differences, valuing them, and creating something new from that energy. So what does this mean for you? It means listening to opposing opinions and leaning in, not shutting down. It means letting go of ego and trusting that together you'll find a better idea. It means choosing creativity over control. Next time you're in a group, ask, how can we combine our strengths instead of clashing over them? Because when you synergize, you don't just work better, you think bigger, dream bolder, and build something unforgettable. Ready to close strong with habit 7. Sharpen the saw, the habit that protects your energy, health, and long-term effectiveness. Let's finish strong, because habit 7 is what keeps all the other habits alive. This one's about renewal, about stepping back to move forward. Because what good is success if you're too burned out to enjoy it? There was once a man sawing down a tree in the forest. Hour after hour he worked. Sweat poured, his arms ached, but the tree wouldn't fall. A stranger approached and said, "Why don't you stop and sharpen your saw?" The man shook his head. "I don't have time. I'm too busy cutting." But with every stroke, his blade got duller, his energy drained, and the job only got harder. Stephen Covey called this the trap of the unrenewed life. Habit 7, sharpen the saw, is about taking time to care for yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, your relationships. Let me tell you about Mira. She was a brilliant strategist, always on. Meetings, emails, projects, hustle. But slowly, her spark dimmed. She couldn't focus. She stopped smiling. She thought she had a motivation problem, but what she really had was a maintenance problem. She wasn't sharpening her saw. She started waking up early to stretch and journal. She blocked time for walks, for silence, for fun. She read, meditated, reconnected, And soon her clarity returned. Her creativity surged, and she became more productive by doing less. Covey says, we must never be too busy driving to take time to get gas. So ask yourself, when did you last unplug on purpose? What are you doing to feed your energy, not just spend it? Remember, sharpening the saw isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's sacred because you are your greatest tool. And when you take care of your instrument, your life becomes the music. And there you have it. 7 timeless habits, 1 unforgettable roadmap. Not just for success, but for a life of meaning, clarity, and impact. Because the most effective people aren't the busiest or the smartest. They're the most intentional. They choose their responses. They define their vision. They prioritize what matters. They seek mutual wins. They listen with empathy. They collaborate with power. And they protect their peace. That's what Stephen Covey gave us. A way to lead ourselves before we try to lead others. So here's your moment. Which habit hit home for you? Which one will you begin to practice, starting today? Because these aren't just lessons. They're lifestyle shifts. Small at first, but over time they will change your relationships, your career, your confidence, and maybe your legacy. And if this audiobook gave you clarity, even just a moment of insight, then please like, share, and subscribe to Universal Audiobooks. We bring books to life every week with cinematic storytelling and deep life lessons. Want to read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for yourself? Check the description below. We've linked the full book in English and Hindi so you can go deeper at your own pace. Until next time, be proactive, begin with vision, live with priorities, think win-win, listen with heart, build with others, and protect your energy because the world doesn't just need more hustle, it needs more people living intentionally.